Guys, I haven't seen someone lose everything they've built so quickly since the king dude from Fallen Kingdom lost his empire. This guy, in Praise of Shadows, is a YouTuber who makes horror movie review videos and ties in politics to his reviews. Recently, he made a video talking about bad conservative horror movies, where he then proceeded to go on a long, unhinged hit piece against several large content creators such as Wendigoon, Mudahar, Oompaville, and Brandon Buckingham, with the main supervillain he was fighting against, like the Doctor Doom to his Fantastic Four here, being Wendigoon. Now, bro, the video is over 3 hours long, so I'm not going to be going over everything in it, but rather just the main points that I and a lot of other content creators had with it, like the issues we had with it. Oh wait, my bad. The video isn't over 3 hours, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Wait, oh, my bad. The video is not public anymore. Yeah, bro kept trimming and deleting stuff as the backlash from this video piled on, and it's not restricted to just the video either. He even made several apologies and responses and tweets that have also since been banished to the Shadow Realm. We're gonna get into all of that, but first, if you end up enjoying this video, then consider leaving a like and subscribing, and yeah, alrighty. Let's start off with the actual video itself.
He is friends with Brandon Buckingham, a gun YouTuber who has been accused of threatening.
The first part I want to talk about is the Brandon Buckingham slander. Bro tossed R-word allegations around with him, and that was never a legit thing. In fact, it was Sneeko who pushed that false narrative after a joke tweet Brandon made, where he was essentially making fun of Sneeko's enjoyment of watching someone else do his girl. Spreading a false R-word allegation is super harmful and can have serious negative consequences on someone's life, so it was really reckless and dangerous for In Praise of Shadows to do that and not to even do the tiniest amount of research to verify if those accusations were at all true, which they were not at all. And he also used a picture of Buckingham's deceased grandfather in the video, which is also kind of like scummy.
He is friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator that has taken advantage of Nakado Avocado's mental decline for fame and for money.
Yeah, anyways, next up, In Praise of Shadows also bashed YouTuber Oompaville by saying that he exploited Nikocado Avocado. That was his criticism. Like, come on, bro. Like, Nikocado is a character. He knows what he's doing. It's all an act. It's fake. Fake news, brother. It's just to get views. No one is actually being exploited or anything of that nature. And furthermore, Nikocado Avocado and Oompaville are friends. And they've intentionally and together collaborated on content in the past. So, like, what is this weak attempt at slandering Oompaville here? He's making it seem like Oompaville is some kind of, like, demented, abusive ringleader who is forcing Nikocado Avocado to be a clown in his circus, when in reality it's just two friends doing staged content with each other for views.
He is friends with Mudahar, who argued against Andrew Tate being deplatformed from social media websites, and has recently showcased a great deal of transphobia in his most recent video.
Another YouTuber who got astray in this video was Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers, who In Praise of Shadow accused of supporting Andrew Tate by advocating for him to not get deplatformed, and said that his latest video on Keffels was transphobic. Mudahar easily responded to these accusations by pointing out that he has been very critical of Andrew Tate in the past, and was just against deplatforming him due to that setting a bad precedent for people of that nature who just have like radical fan bases, and if they get silenced or censored by being deplatformed, then it just sort of lends credence to what they're telling their audience. Muda also questions if In Praise of Shadows even watched his video on Keffels, which I did, because pretty much everything Muda brought up about Keffels had nothing to do with them being trans, but was rather just about their shady use of Patreon money and lying to their audience. In Praise of Shadows basically discounted all of that well-researched and legitimate criticism by Muda, and tried to almost help shield Keffels in a way from that legit criticism by hiding it behind their identity as being trans, which is really crazy and wild because our boy In Praise of Shadows here complains later in his video about Wendigoon using his religion as a shield to like block himself from being criticized.
The flagrant use, from my perspective, of his religion as a shield from criticism. Not that I have a stake in this whatsoever, but this is such a non-statement that doesn't even address any of the issues that folks are criticizing him for. Someone using their religion as a shield in the same breath as claiming that they believe in nothing politically is a red flag.
To be fair, I don't really watch or keep up with any of these content creators aside from Mudahar, so I don't really know if Wendigoon is actually doing that, but even if I give Shadow Man here the benefit of the doubt and agree with him on this point, then why is he doing the exact same thing for Kevils? If he has a problem with Wendigoon using his religion as a shield to criticism, then why does he not take issue with people, including himself, using Kevils being trans as a shield for real and legit criticism? Speaking of Wendigoon though, we've reached the final boss. Even though our boy Raid Shadow Legends here was slandering a bunch of different creators in this video, it was Wendigoon who is his arch nemesis, who is the Joker to his Batman. Apparently, this dude Shadow the Hedgehog had been plotting against Wendigoon for a while now due to a number of things, which are as follows. Wendigoon likes guns. He is friends with other people who like guns and are conservative. Some of his audience, who has no affiliation with him other than watching his videos and liking his content, called this dude the F-slur. Wendigoon is rich and doing well on the platform, while this guy is poor and struggling on YouTube, and Wendigoon followed him on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I got a lot to talk about with this dude's criticisms of Wendigoon because it's riddled with flaws and poor research and assumptions. I mean, at least bro later admitted that he was emotionally influenced by anger when he made this part of the video, like almost jealousy in a way, so I mean, that's cool, glad that he admitted that, but dang, Shadow Boy over here levied some pretty hefty allegations against Wendigoon based on practically no evidence and a couple of paranoid, half-baked conspiracy theories.
Most of this area used to be sundown towns. It is about as white as you could possibly get. Deep Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
Okay, so first of all, in praise of Shadow talks about the part of the country where Wendigoon lives, and due to it being very white country, as he says, he claims that you have to automatically assume that all white people living there are racist unless they prove otherwise. How about just not assuming anything about anyone until they prove otherwise? Like, imagine if someone said, if you go to Chicago, you have to assume that all the black people there are gangsters and criminals and thugs unless they prove otherwise. Like, do you see how absolutely idiotic and problematic this mindset of just assuming things is? Dude is literally being racist. This is the definition of racism, making overgeneralizations and stereotypes about a group of people without having a nuanced analysis of them, where you don't just make any presuppositions and judge them for who they are actually as individuals, not just throwing this label on all of them and making these overgeneralizations about all of them. Aside from that though, almost half of this guy's criticisms of Wendigoon are just not liking the people he's friends with or follows on social media. It's literally, like, this is literally how it is. Like, I'm paraphrasing of course, but it's literally, it goes like this. Oh, Wendigoon follows this guy on Twitter, and this guy likes guns and might be racist, and he's a fascist and a government bootlicker, and therefore Wendigoon is also all of those things, or at the very least, wholeheartedly supports all of those things because he's friends with these people. Like, I don't know if Black Shadow here knows this, but you can be friends with people and not agree with all of their opinions or beliefs. I know that may come as a surprise to some, but yeah, it's definitely possible to be friends with people and not just agree with everything that they believe. You can't just lump people together in like broad categories just based off of their friendship. Again, that's making generalizations, bro.
And the difficulty in seeing the lies in between the things that are true is always the point with these kinds of people, who say, for instance, that they do not believe in far-right hate, while doing something else at the same time, such as wearing a distinctly coded Hawaiian shirt that would be understood by the initiated.
Another criticism the Shadow Monster had against Wendigoon was the fact that he wears a Hawaiian shirt, and that was the same type of shirt that the Boogala Boys, a far-right extremist group, wears. And apparently Wendigoon had some connections to them in the past because he made a meme page that attracted some of the people who would go on to form or take part of that group, despite the fact that Wendigoon has several times stated in the past that he does not support their ideals, and that was why he left the meme page after it started being taken over by those people. So now, even though Wendigoon has publicly disavowed their actions and does not associate with that group, just because he wears a Hawaiian shirt, he must secretly be supporting them and demonstrating his allegiance to them by doing that somehow. Sheesh, dude. There are several times throughout this video where In Praise of Shadows uses allegations of things he cannot prove to slander Wendigoon, such as claiming he used to follow far-right people on Twitter or had made tweets or harmful statements in the past. But then usually almost every single time in this video he's like, oh, well, I didn't take these screenshots, so there's no way I can prove it for sure, but it's most likely the case. Or oh, I didn't see him following these people, but people said that he did in the past and they took these screenshots and they might be fake, but they're probably real, so he probably did. Like, almost none of this stuff though has definitive proof or like screenshots that he took that he can verifiably prove without a shadow of a doubt. Shadow of a doubt, yeah.
And that Wendigoon followed me on Twitter. I was not following him at the time. He never publicly told people to stop calling me a faggot. He never once reached out to me privately, but he did follow me, which means in my eyes that he 100% knew what was happening because I did tweet about it several times, and then followed me to let me know that he knew, and that he was watching and that he intended to do nothing to stop it. Why else would he follow me in that exact moment? He has never interacted with a single one of my posts, not one like, not one comment. We are not friends. But he does follow me. He follows next to nobody on Twitter. What other motivation could he have had there to follow me in that specific moment, other than to be a method of quiet and deniable intimidation? What other way could that have been read from my perspective? If you think it was entirely coincidental, which he may argue it was, then I've got a sack of magic beans I'd like to sell to you. That was the moment that pushed me over the edge to make this video.
And finally, he also thinks that Wendigoon following him on Twitter was some sort of like 8D chess, 15 steps ahead while you're 29 steps behind, galaxy brain, 10 million IQ play to intimidate him, because he assumes, which is just like this guy's favorite thing to do apparently, but because he assumes that Wendigoon knew that specific members of his audience were calling this guy the F slur, and that Wendigoon wanted him to know that he knew that that was happening and that he was not going to do anything to stop it. So yeah, that's the reason why he followed him. Yeah, the only reason, the only logical explanation here. Like, come on, dude, this is starting to border on delusion. Bro is literally turning into that teacher Bernie from The Incredibles, just looking for any small possibility of something that maybe happened in the past to try to bring it back up to slander Wendigoon. If Wendigoon was such a bad guy, then In Praise of Shadows shouldn't have to be like reaching so hard and relying on unproven claims, far like reaching conspiracies, and digging through every single one of Wendigoon's online connections and friends to make that point clear. Usually, if someone is a bad dude, then it's pretty clear from their actions and words. You shouldn't normally have to go this far out of your way to try to find like every single crumb of something that you might be able to spin into a bad thing. So there were a lot of unsubstantiated claims in this video, not taking the time to do proper research, and generalizations that were a part of this hit piece video, which is really sad and crazy because our boy Shadow Bonnie over here talks earlier in his video about how people doing the exact same thing to him almost ruined his YouTube career and drove him into one of the darkest times of his life. Okay, so you know how harmful this kind of spreading of lies and half-truths and false narratives can be. Then why are you so fine doing the exact same thing to other content creators? But at least he was sensible enough to apologize about all of this stuff, right? Well, I mean, kind of. So In Praise of Shadows made like 3 different apologies / responses to this whole controversy, almost all of which were deleted at some point later. One was through a community post on his channel, another one was paywalled behind Patreon, and one was like a response thread on Twitter. This video is already going way longer than I intended it to, so I'll just briefly cover his Twitter responses, and if you want to see the rest of his quote-unquote apologies, then check out this video by Pegasus, link is in the description. Okay, so first he apologizes to Brandon for using the picture of his deceased grandfather as a part of his like hate video here, and he also apologizes for not looking more into the R-word allegations, but also then kind of insults him, saying he saw him holding a gun and sort of just wrote him off as not being important enough to be looked into. Sounds super unbiased and very professional. Next up, he says Mudahar's thumbnail was transphobic transphobic, and that's all he has to say about it. But then doesn't give any explanation to why it is transphobic, and says nothing about the real legit criticism that was not based on transphobia that Muda gave against Keffals in his video. Wow. I guess if you just use an ugly drawing of anyone in your thumbnail, that is automatically an attack on their identity. Like, that's just such a dumb thing to say. Like, so if there was an ugly drawing of some guy who was straight and a white male on a thumbnail, that would be okay, but it's just if it's not that, if someone's a part of a minority and there's an ugly drawing of them on a thumbnail, then that's not okay? I don't get it. That point literally makes no sense. Even if you are one of those people, though, who wants to say that it was because the artist was transphobic, that argument also doesn't really make sense because Keffals themselves used art from that exact same artist in one of their thumbnails, so it apparently didn't bother them that much. Shadow Guy does admit later that he let his emotions drive him to make this video. He turned into a Sith Lord and let his anger and hatred drive him to, like, forge this banger in the smith shop to cook up this heat right here in the kitchen, but he still later doubles down on a lot of his other points, which is exactly why he took down that section of the video and then ended up deleting the video entirely. Yeah, that's why he deleted everything, because he very much still stands up for those points that he believed were super important and right. He believed in them so much that he just ended up taking them all down in order to save face and lessen the backlash he was getting from this video. Yeah, I don't know. I just find it ironic that this guy criticized Wendigoon for being comfortable profiting off of people in his fanbase who were filled with hate, but then when he has the chance to show that it's not about the profit or the money or the views, and more so about the importance of the message and what you believe in, he then backs down, takes down the video that he said had many valid and good points and arguments in it, and it's all just in an attempt to profit more in the future and get more views and save his career. That just kind of seems like a double standard to me. Anyways, that is pretty much the end of the saga for now. Bro tried to turn into Kendrick Lamar and diss the biggest names in the industry, but he ended up getting flamed, roasted, and called out for his poor research and biased and bad faith takes. I wanted to close by saying that I do genuinely feel bad for this guy in the sense that it is sad to see someone who wants to make content for a living not be able to do that, for him to not be able to keep doing his dream job. And yeah, I just wanted to say that sometimes people get lost in the sauce, and I think that's what happened here. And what I mean by that is some people get so caught up in something, like in this case it's politics, that becomes their whole worldview for everything, and they overanalyze and overhype certain things that most normal, non-super political people don't really notice too much or like even really care about. Politics is a very divisive subject, and oftentimes I feel like most people are sort of like in the middle and find people on both the political extremes very cringy and disagreeable. It's fine to have your own political opinions and beliefs, but I think more people, like in Praise of Shadows, need to understand that not everyone thinks of everything through a political lens, and sometimes if you hyperfixate on all of this political stuff, then you just end up with a warped perspective on reality that isolates you from most other non-extremist people. The Better Yourself challenge for today is to not get lost in the sauce. There are a lot of things that people can allow to cloud and influence their worldview, but it's always important to listen to other perspectives and not allow your views and beliefs and opinions to disillusion you. Anyways, I've been Ghost Host, I've been talking, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a great day.